travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Relebogile Mabocha, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Walk through history, walk with it. Sunday, 27 July, 7:02 Walk the Talk. Hosted by Freedom Park in the city of Tshwane. More on primemediaplus.com.
You're with Clement Manyathela
On 7:02.
Let's Walk the Talk. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856.
92.7 and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 9 o'clock. Dumelang, welcome to the Clement Manyathela Show. It's wonderful to have you with us here on 7:02. I hope you're well this morning and that you are keeping warm because, damn, it's cold here in Johannesburg. Last night was incredibly cold. In fact, I would say last night was, for me, the coldest night. I think it was the coldest night during this entire winter because I really felt it last night. Whatever you do though, if you're single, don't be tempted to send that text, yeah. Hey, how have you been? It starts like that, hey? Just get extra blankets, okay? We kick off the show with the 702 open line on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. Remember, you can watch the show live on YouTube. So if you are watching us on YouTube, hello. You can go to just the 702 YouTube page, Google that. It will send you straight to YouTube and you can just watch me and my guests as you listen to the show. How about that? So this Eastern Cape Judge President, Mr. Mbenenge, has opened a case of crime and injuria against Andy Swamengo. Remember? The secretary at the court, and this is the same woman who has accused him of sexual harassment. He says he believes that Mango conspired with other people to embellish the allegations and seemingly tarnish his name. That's why he's opened this charge, this case. Did you watch the proceedings yesterday? Because I don't know about you, but I just got a sense that the judge president was so nonchalant. I don't think he actually grasped the importance of this and the magnitude of this. He doesn't grasp it from at least my understanding. I don't know how you read it. I mean, he claims to be a moral person who respects women, but was that consistent with his actions? I'm interested to know what you think. I mean, he says the deep sexual talks that he had with Mango were playful and they were flirtatious and they were consensual. He says even when Mango said no to them being intimate with each other, he continued to flirt with her because he understood her to say he must earn it. And Mango did say earn it, right? And apparently in Xhosa culture, I'm not Xhosa, if you're Xhosa let me know. Apparently in Xhosa culture, that's how men pursue women. And her earn it remark was an invitation for him to continue pursuing it. It's like that ridiculous justification that some men often give that, yeah, she's just playing hard to get. It's wild. And it makes women feel so uncomfortable. You're like, no, but she was just playing too hard to get. Oh, he was playing too hard to get. Because the person has been saying no to your advances. And I don't know I think back in the day, that used to be a thing. I think even growing up, I used to hear a lot of people, or even women or girls in school would talk about that phenomena of playing hard to get. But things have evolved and we've come to understand gender-based violence more, sexual harassment more. We know where to clearly draw the line and understand where the boundaries are. So is that still justified, so to speak, in today's evolved world? This phenomena of, when the woman says no to you, you think, she's just playing hard to get. And also as a woman, please, let us know as well. Is that the thing that still exists in your experience, where even when someone really is hitting on you or wants to go out with you, you're going to be reluctant a little bit in the beginning. But that doesn't mean you're saying no. You're actually saying, earn it, work for it. I'd like to know your thoughts on that on 011-883-0702. The WhatsApp line is 072-702-1702. What did you think of what Judge President Mbenenge had to say? I'll play some of the clips of what happened yesterday at that tribunal. The Minister of Police has just released a statement a couple of minutes ago in response to the allegations regarding his association or alleged association with Mr. Matlala, Vusmuzi Matlala. Remember that businessman? We spoke about him. He's been arrested. He's actually appearing in court this Friday. He received a tender, 360 million rand from the SAPS. I think it was adjudicated before Senzo Mkunu's term. When Senzo Mkunu came in as minister last year, was it last year? Yeah, last year. He came in and he heard that there are issues because there was an internal audit asking questions about this tender and how it was adjudicated. The decision was taken to cancel the tender. So what appears to be the case here is, because what General Mkonazi did on Sunday was read WhatsApp texts between this businessman and Mr. Brown Mokhotsi, right? Who is apparently an associate of the Minister of Police. And it looks like Vusmuzi Matlala was threatening Mokhotsi that my contract is cancelled, nothing has been done to resolve that, I'm going to go to the media with this. I'm going to actually expose. So probably at some point, so even if the briefing didn't happen on Sunday, I wonder if Mr. Matlala would have gone ahead to expose this in the media. But then that would have also put him in trouble. But sometimes when people have nothing to lose, when the house is on fire, they don't give an ish. So the police minister has just released a statement and he says, in response to the recent allegations made by Provincial Commissioner Mkonazi, and while respecting the president's call for calm, the Minister of Police feels it is important to clarify the following. The minister has never met Mr. Matlala, has never spoken to him, nor has the minister ever requested or received anything from him. Now, context here. Remember, yesterday I was telling you about Bekitele. Bekitele, News 24 ran a story yesterday that this businessman who's arrested, Vusmuzi Matlala, actually offered his apartment in Pretoria to Bekitele to say, whenever you're in Pretoria, come and use it. So there's already a link there. The Minister of Police now says, well, I've never received anything from him. I've never even spoken to this man. I don't know him. Bekitele said, well, I've met this person once. We're not really friends or business partners. Yes, he's offered his place and I've used it in Pretoria several times. The minister goes further to say in the statement, the minister did, however, initiate a review of the SAPS tender awarded to him when suspicions of possible wrongdoing surfaced. It was the same tender which has been terminated. And there are more questions around the termination of the tender. That's why I'm hoping that at some point the police commissioner can do interviews, because my understanding from what I'm hearing in the SAPS is the tender was actually, before it was cancelled, there was already an internal audit report that said there's a problem with this tender. And the National Police Commissioner waited over 100 days before he could act. And while he was waiting over 100 days, even when he had this report, 50 million rand was paid to this business owned by this businessman. Because there was a delay on acting. And I want to ask the commissioner, why? Why when a report comes on your desk and says there's a problem with this tender, you wait over 100 days? Are you kidding me? And in that process, the SAPS then loses money because money then leaves. Was there an instruction that don't pay any monies to this business while I decide what action I'll be taking? Those are the questions I have, and hopefully we'll get an opportunity to ask him that. The last line on this statement says, furthermore, while the minister knows and has met Mr. Brown Mogotsi, he's just a comrade and not an associate of the minister. The minister has never requested or received anything from him. Remember, Mr. Mogotsi is the person we've been referring as an associate of the minister, according to General Mkhwanazi. And Mogotsi has been speaking to this businessman who's been arrested. So some people will look at him as like the buffer. Because honestly, guys, yes, I take what the minister says here, but if history is anything to go by, how I have seen politicians operate in government is they are never going to operate and speak to businesses directly. It doesn't work like that. None of the politicians, in fact, it's a stupid move to make. Politicians are always going to be always going to have the middleman. Any politician who has a relationship with a businessman who receives contracts from government always has a middleman. And I'm not suggesting in this case Mr. Mogotsi was the middleman for the police minister and this businessman. I'm just giving you context that this is how things work. Politicians always have this middleman who's going to be the buffer between the police minister or the home affairs minister or health minister, whatever, and the businessman who probably is receiving tenders from government. That's how we've seen it unfold in the past. But the minister now says, no, this Mogotsi guy is just a comrade. He's not an associate of the minister. The minister has never requested or received anything from him. So that's what the minister has just said. I know he's not doing interviews because I spoke to him this morning asking him to come on air. And he says, well, the president has told them not to speak to anybody. So they're all waiting to hear from what the president will say before they start doing interviews.
Clement Manyathela, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
Hi, Clement. I think what's more infuriating about Judge Mbenenge is that not only is he seeing this as his accuser having played hard to get, but he's actually using culture as an excuse. He's basically saying that, no, that's how Xhosa women are. That's how Xhosa women are supposed to be when they flirt. They are coy. It drives me up the wall. This is Tidi.
Morning, Clement. I don't understand why many of you already concluded that Mbenenge is wrong. Judging by the messages that they were exchanging with that lady, I think these people were in something that we don't even know. But the lady made a U-turn. I think she's working with someone. This thing is happening everywhere. She's working with someone to remove Judge Mbenenge. So you guys are believing her only because she's a woman. But, to me, it will be difficult to believe that woman.
Yeah, okay. Let's try and not you guys people, right? So, if you've heard what I've said from the beginning, nobody has ever said that the woman is completely innocent. From the time when we've spoken about this, my view was, which you can agree or disagree with, and I'll respect your view as you should respect mine, is that there are power dynamics at play when there's someone senior who's busy hitting on someone who's way younger than them and they're in a senior position to them in the workplace. That's power dynamics. So when your boss is busy hitting on you, it's not as easy as, just say no and move on. It doesn't work like that. So he is absolutely wrong. I think he's a disgrace in how he has behaved towards this younger woman. That's my view. I mean, he claims to be a person who's got morals, who respects women. And when he was asked, but you're a married man, and I never want to debate morality because that's subjective, right? I don't want to, I never really care about who sleeps with who. That's their thing. But when you're going to sit there at a tribunal and say, I'm a moral person, and the question comes, but weren't you married when you are married, right? And he says, I can't answer that. Like, my marriage has got nothing to do with this. But you've introduced the aspect of morality. So therefore, any question that relates to that, surely you should be able to respond to it. So I've said before, I actually think that he was wrong. This woman is young and this woman is at a lower position. So the minute this woman showed reluctance, and he does admit that she did show reluctance at some point, then he should have stepped away. The onus is on him as an elder. Onus is on him as a person in leadership to realize that, oh, I'm making this person uncomfortable that I work with. So maybe let me step back. And he didn't do that. And equally so, I've said, this woman, I do think that she shouldn't have let it continue for so long. There's language that she's used where she also calls him handsome, where she also asks for money in exchange of what? So there are questions we have to ask about how she's behaved. And we spoke about this last week, about how sometimes even people who are being sexually harassed sometimes are going to, an example, classic example, but it's too raw. Apologies for that. Like when someone is being raped, for instance, and they say, I used this example last week. I think, in fact, Lisa Vetten probably may have used it before as well. And then the person says, please put on a condom. That doesn't mean they're consenting to you actually violating them like that. It just shows that they're in this situation. They're not going to avoid being sexually violated by that. So they would rather have you do it and you put on a condom to protect themselves. So sometimes there are women who face sexual harassment who may go along with something because they also realize what the consequences may be. I gave an example of, imagine a woman who's got 5 kids and is supporting 6 other families. Their boss is hitting on them. They're scared to say explicitly no because they're worried they're going to lose their job. What's going to happen to the 6 families that they're looking after? So it's too simplistic also for us to think, well, just say no when your boss is hitting on you. It's not as easy as that. For some people, it's literally a matter of life and death. They have to weigh in. They have to weigh what are the potential consequences here and how am I going to deal with them? That's what we're dealing with. So what I'm asking though now is, having heard what Judge President Mbenenge said, do you get a sense that he actually understands how problematic his behavior has been? I don't get that sense. I really don't. I think he doesn't get it. He was so nonchalant in how he was answering the questions. I don't think he actually understands how he's embarrassed his own family, his own kids who are adults. He's embarrassed the courts, the judiciary. I don't know how you see it. In fact, listen to what he said yesterday during that inquiry.
Unfortunately, in this instance, you are already a married man.
What has that to do with these proceedings, ma'am?
Who did not want a serious relationship with Ms. Mengo. You wanted a sexual relationship with her.
Evidence, leader. I urge you and I appeal to you that you don't pose questions to me that are not relevant to the issue at hand.
I will pose to you that you don't have to lecture me.
I am not lecturing you. Sorry for that.
I'm putting the questions to you.
Come again?
I'm putting the versions and the questions to you. You can answer yes or no, or just give an answer.
Not all questions call for yes or no. I think we should be on par on that. You are asking me about my marital status, and I'm urging you to keep away from that.
You wanted a sexual relationship with Ms. Mengo?
I wanted a flirtatious relationship with a view to eventually having a romantic relationship with her if that worked out.
That's what he said. He went further to say that the complainant sent him messages in the morning wishing her happy Father's Day and calling him by his clan name which he looked at as flirtatious.
1202. The time is 0603. I wake up to a conversation initiated by the complainant. For the first time, I receive Happy Father's Day from her. She refers to me as Jola. The time is 0603 in the morning. Being called by clan name within the culture, and I'm not at all blowing culture out of proportion here, as some may think. The point of substance is that when somebody calls you by your clan name, it's an endearment. That's just the point I'm making.
So that's what he said. He went further to say, and this is where it gets really bizarre. He was talking about rough rides and what that meant. So to give you context, there was a syringe emoji that he sent to Mango. And he had, after Mango informed him that she was off sick. So this woman who was a secretary says, I'm sick. And then this judge president responds and says, I want to come and give you a boost with this dripping syringe emoji. Dripping? Do syringes drip? Well, I guess they do because... Yo, listen to how he explained it.
So, sorry, JP, you should know. You should know.
That?
Possibly it's not good enough an answer. I'm sorry.
Yes. What I'm trying to
Counsel is asking you,
yes,
with this symbol of injection,
yes,
could it be that you meant penis?
that's exactly what
mean that?
Yes. I could mean that. I could mean that. That's my answer. I could mean that. The reason why I'm addressing myself in this fashion is that I don't associate an injection with a penis. But then, at the same time, insofar as in no time thereafter at 1948, sorry, not 1948, at 1943 at page 1260, I then say, Uzaitini rough ride. So, yes, let me concede and just talk within this sensual, deep sensual talk, it could have meant that. In other words, I don't want to dissociate myself with whosoever puts it within the realm of a sexual talk.
But we were here to hear your views.
Yes.
Your personal view about it.
Yes. I agree.
Yeah, but then what was your personal perception about it? Did you convey a penis or did you not?
I conveyed not necessarily a penis, but I can't dispute that it could mean that. Let me explain myself. It is something that is going to uplift her spirits as a person who is depressed. I'm dealing with it in that fashion. But speaking for myself, seated here as I do, and on reflection, I don't quarrel with somebody who then says, well, it was a penis. But then I am saying, I am more explicit in relation to that much later when I talk about a rough ride. Rough ride at 1943 at 1260. So, sure. Chairperson, let me concede and say this was a sexual talk, this was a sensual talk. Even if one could say it refers to a penis, I can't deny that, if they see it that way.
Yeah. And of course, his argument is this was consensual. And that's really the core here. That's what he argues. Even though there are instances where Mango has said, no, I don't want to be intimate with you. But then Mango also said, you must earn it. And he says, well, I took earn it as just keep pursuing me because maybe we can get to a point where we do get intimate. Let me know your thoughts. 011-883-0702. It's 9:32.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm mannerThe, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Your voice,
Your station.
your open line
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
on 702.
23 minutes before 10 o'clock. Okay, so you're calling from the East Rand. Thank you for your patience. Good morning.
Yes, morning, Clement.
Sure.
How are you?
Sharp. Go ahead.
Yes, Clement, I just wanted to say that I don't know if you came across, there was an Amabungane article, just basically talking about how the drug trade took hold in South Africa in the early 90s when we were transitioning from apartheid, right? And how, these syndicates have just managed to infiltrate all levels of government. I actually even sent it to you via WhatsApp if you have time. Please read it because it's very interesting. It just talks about how, like, what Ntantam Kwanazi is really up against, right? In terms of this thing has infiltrated everywhere. So it's infiltrated when it comes to, like, the MPs, like what he's alleging, the prosecutors, the syndicates are literally like everywhere in terms of government, ministers, very connected, well-connected business people. And it's a problem, Clement, because I really, really fear for him a lot because this thing, it's almost like deeper than what South Africans understand it.
Yeah.
And it's more multi-layered than what we understand, right? And I agree with you 100% to say that no one is stupid enough to do things directly when dealing with these underworld, shady characters or whatever. They will always use an intermediary or like a middleman to be the person that liaises between them and this person, So, and this is why we in South Africa, we need to actually start asking ourselves as citizens to say, why is it that all the time we bemoan all this acts of criminality that happen and go unchecked? But it's because someone is obviously getting a payoff to make sure that lawlessness prevails.
Yeah, and now I always just look at the signs. In fact, the best way to see if business people were linked to politicians, wait when politicians retire or they leave office. Because that's when I feel like they're so vulnerable. Like they need a house to stay somewhere at. It really gets hectic. In this case, now we've got Bekikele who says, yes, I stayed at this guy's house. Now you've got to ask yourself questions. Okay, how did you meet this guy? Like, for you to be so comfortable to say, hey, let me use your luxury apartment in Pretoria. When did you meet him? Who introduced you to him? Did you meet him when you were a police minister? Those questions are valid. But it's naive to think there are politicians who are just going to have a direct relationship. Like, imagine Edwin Sodi. You think Edwin Sodi, as a businessman, with all that's been reported about him, is going to talk directly with the politicians? Well, some of them maybe are brave to do so. But just ask yourself, why did Paul Mashatile supposedly stay at Edwin Sodi's house in Cape Town? A luxury house. And he says, well, I've got friends. Okay, sure. But that's a house that was actually being attached by the SIU, or was it the Asset Forfeiture Unit? Like, I don't know, if I was deputy president or I was minister and there's a house to stay at and the person whose house I'm going to stay at has been implicated in alleged corruption, I think the best thing to do is actually use my house in Cape Town. No? Let me use my house in Cape Town because I don't want to involve myself in that because there are allegations here that are so serious that have now reached the courts. I don't know. I just think we need to be circumspect and know that politicians may come and deny. That's why Cyril Ramaphosa's, what was that case? What was that case when they took Cyril Ramaphosa to court? They wanted to know who has donated to his CR17 campaign. They wanted that. Remember, there was that case. Who donated to President Cyril Ramaphosa's campaign? And yes, I get it that at the time he was arguing, but why is this applicable to me only? But the point here is, you want to be able to know that if there's a guy who paid R1 billion to your campaign or 100 million rand, and suddenly that guy is going to be getting tenders at Home Affairs or in the Department of Justice, then we can make the correlation and say, what's going on here? And start asking questions that satisfy ourselves as the members of the public. That's why that was important. That's why it's important for parties to also say who's giving them money. Nwaku, you are calling us from Polokwane. Good morning. You want to talk about this tribunal?
Yes, Clement, Lekai. I find it very problematic that we want to attribute our morals to Judge Mbenenge. How do we know that he subscribes to polygamy, or the wife is not even having a problem with him having extramarital affairs?
Or maybe they are not in a monogamous relationship. Yeah.
Yes, we do not know what happens in other people's bedrooms. We cannot know. That is why the evidence leader, I agree with Judge Mbenenge that the evidence leader was out of order in asking that question, because we do not have the same morals when it comes to anything. In fact,
absolutely, I agree with you, Nwaku, and that's why I say I never want to talk about people's morals, right? Because that's subjective. I never want to, even when there are politicians accused of mamang, cheating on who, that's none of my business. But in this case, the reason I was raising it is Judge Mbenenge claims to be a moral man. So when you are introducing that aspect of morality in a tribunal like that, is the evidence leader then not entitled to ask you about that morality and what the threshold is? Because if you're saying I'm a moral man who respects women, then I would like to know, okay, where does that aspect of morality fit then within your own marriage, for instance? Isn't that a fair question?
Well, no, because now you'll be wanting to know what's happening within my marriage.
So how can I ask him if he's moral without then asking about his marriage? So if he says I'm a moral man, how do I test that morality?
We just stick to the matter at hand.
But how do I test the morality? So how would you have advised the evidence leader to test the morality?
No, they can ask any other question as long as it doesn't have to do with me and my wife. You can ask any other question. It's still open. You can ask any other question. I do not want to bring my wife or my partner into this discussion.
But given that this is a sexual harassment matter, isn't that the easy way then to go and test that morality? And I get you, Nwaku. I absolutely agree with you that.
But you see, that is why it's still an allegation, Clement. We may as well find that eventually this was not sexual. She was not harassed in the first place. That may be the finding.
Yes, that may be the finding or not.
It's still an allegation. It's still an allegation.
Yeah. Okay, Nwaku, let's hear what the other listeners think. I do get your point. I mean, I do agree with Nwaku that, morality is subjective. Like, don't get into that. My issue, though, is if you're going to claim that you're a moral person, how do I test that? If you are claiming that, if he claimed that in the tribunal, how do I test that morality then as an evidence leader, as a lawyer? I must be allowed to test that. And I suppose that's where I'm thinking, how else do you think that morality could have been tested without talking about his marriage? Luntu, you're in Davidton. Hi.
Morning, Clement.
Sure.
Quick one, Clement. Your question is misdirected insofar as why would you want to test something that you've already agreed that is subjective? So we agree in terms of morals, we are not the same. I can claim to be moral, you can claim to be moral. So there's no objective test for morality. So why do you then want to test it? It's a rhetorical question. Let me just go to the other.
Oh wait, I would want to test it because you brought it forth. So as an evidence leader, if you, Luntu, are on the stand and you don't talk about morality, I'm not going to feel entitled or feel the necessity to test that because you're not bringing it on. But the minute, Luntu, you want to claim that I'm a moral man, for instance, Luntu, if you claim that I respect women and yet you were beating up a woman and you are on the stand, I need to test that claim. Why are you saying you actually respect women when we know that you've beat up your own wife? So I'm saying when you bring it, then allow the evidence leader to ask you about morality because you are the one that brought it.
You're using a wrong example because it's an objective test. If I were to claim that I do not beat up a woman and then I'm beating up a woman, there's an objective test there. I've beaten up a woman. So therefore, prove it.
But I could argue that I could argue that you've done it before, because you could argue, Luntu, that this was a mistake, which is fine, right? We all make mistakes. If you argue, well, I did it this time, it was a mistake, I could argue that, no, there's a consistent behavior we've seen with you and your wife. I could argue that to prove the point that you don't respect women, and this wasn't just one mistake.
You see now, you're actually doing a strongman argument. You've introduced something and you're counter-arguing. It's got nothing to do with it. And actually doing.
Okay. What's your point?
When you go to the point I was going to make, insofar as I've been fortunate, in the last 19 years, I've worked with for 3 corporates. Listed, each of them actually have dual listings. And I can name 6 examples of where executives have divorced their wives and ended up with their secretary. So the point I'm making is to say this is normal life where people in higher position have these relations with people in the lower division. So let us not even try and create this thing of, oh wow, I'm the victim, I am here. These people today, these executives, happily have second wives and are continuing with their families. The issue at hand, we should always see objectively. And in this particular instance, it is quite clear that these two were consenting adults insofar as how they were engaging themselves. And we can't then get to a point where we are almost child cuddling the lady, so that she's now being preyed upon by this elderly man. If the lady was a kid, a teenager, or something to that effect, then these dynamics of could be brought up. But this is a consenting professional adult deciding on whatever that is that they are deciding, and there's clear evidence to say this was not a one-way street of her. There were cordial conversation, even to this conversation, the sexual and the nature of this conversation will happen. Unless we are now saying morally, old men like Mr. Mbenenge are not entitled to continue with their sexual life.
No, not at all. I agree with you that there's clear evidence where there seems to be here a consensual thing where the woman responds also in endearing ways, right? I mean, when she asked for money, I've raised that concern that then muddies the waters. You can't say, I didn't want this, but you're willing to be paid in exchange for something, right? I agree there with you, but equally so, Luntu, I don't think Judge Mbenenge here escapes scot-free. I think when you are a man in a powerful position like that, and you are sexually attracted to someone who's more junior in your workplace, you need to have the foresight and the maturity to know when to step away. So similarly so, as you say, there were cases where this woman plays along. There are also cases where this woman says no. There are also cases where this woman says, I don't want to be intimate with you. So the judge, president, must have the foresight and the maturity, one, as the older person here, but two, as someone in a leadership position to step back and say, oh, I may make this person feel uncomfortable because they're junior than me. And there's a complexity that comes with power dynamics where when you are junior, there's a lot of things to consider where you may end up playing along with your boss, not because you're attracted sexually to them, because you're worried about what are the potential consequences here if I choose to take a tough stance and I say, don't talk to me like that. Can we appreciate that complexity, that nuance?
Agreed on that one.
Thank you for a call, Luntu, in Davidton. It's 10 minutes before 10.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm Mabocha, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place, whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Voice.
Your station.
Your open line.
Walk the talk with Clement Manyathela.
On 702.
7 minutes before 10 o'clock.
Hey, good morning, Clement. Hope you're well. This is KB from the south of Joburg. In the terms of what Judge Mbenenge said, I think if you go on social media, you'll see a lot of women saying that this guy will share. And then after I told him no, he just said, okay. And he's just surprised. They'll be saying, how? Why doesn't the guy push more? So I don't know. Maybe that phenomenon still exists in today's society. Great show as always. Thank you.
Morning, Clement. Sarah from Harabia Sport. I had to get a police protection order against a man who refused to believe that I'd said no, and it took a police protection order to get him to stop. He thought I was playing, as you say, hard to get. I don't think it's only a causa thing. I think it's a general habit that men have. That's what I think.
Hi, Clement. This is Sidwell Susuman. Clement, I am closer. But what it means, about shelling girls, proposing to girls, a no, if a no is, a no should be a no, you can try pursuing, but if she says no, you can't twist their arm and do all those things, man. Come on. The judge president has been caught. You must just admit.
Hi, Clement. Look, I'm a closer man through and through. And this has nothing to do with closer. It's just a case of socialization generally. You know how society has given men, us men, the right, to say if a woman doesn't want us, they are playing hard to get. It goes through to all other races. In terms of cultures, not races.
Well, saying on the WhatsApp line says, Clement, as a judge president, the determination of morality and its interpretation is paramount. Not to just this case, but it questions his ability to hold that office as a whole. If morality can be used as a part of your defense with intent sway, our opinion of one is a positive, in a positive ways, then it should be tested as to what your understanding of morality is to the fullest extent. And the evidence leader is establishing that how can a judge have a poor sense of morality and judgment and then explain it away? TM says, Clement, to add to this Eastern Cape story, he can't suddenly suppress the question of his marriage unless he desires. He declares that he's in a polygamous marriage. Mike says, Clement, rape victims get asked the most difficult questions by the defendant's lawyers. They're even asked if they enjoyed it or not, but the accused judge can't be asked about morality. That's absurd, if you ask me. That's Mike in Ivory Park, 3 minutes before 10.
Travel isn't just about destinations. It's about the people you meet, the cultures you immerse yourself in, the stories you carry home. I'm mannerThe, and on my travel feature, I take you on a journey beyond the guidebook. Each week, I connect with fellow travelers, insiders, and storytellers to bring you the heart of every place. Whether it's a hidden gem right here in South Africa or a dream destination abroad. Join me as we travel through conversations, memories, and inspiration. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.